Scott Brown, yesterday, actually the day before yesterday, on Tuesday, yesterday was when we heard the news, got up to yesterday morning and woke up to some news about Scott Brown winning the Massachusetts State Senate position, or the senator position. So everybody's really happy about that and it's kind of going nuts. And I just like to throw my 2 cents worth in about this whole issue and what's happening with it. And here's the way I see it playing out. Scott Brown has won. And obviously now think about this. Before Scott Brown had won, ever since 2006, Congress has been run by the Democrats, by the left-wing progressives, basically. Since 2006, they've had control of the House. They had a pretty good grip on the Senate. In 2008, they took control of the Senate and the House, and they had a supermajority after Mr. Al Frankenstein got into office. They had the 60 votes for a supermajority. They also had Lieberman, was kind of a guy floating around out there, but they basically had a supermajority, not just a majority. Majority is all they need to rule. Majority is still a majority. Now, even though they had a supermajority, even though they had a majority of the House, even though they were in control of both the House and the Senate and they had the presidency, they were still unable to get a lot of things done. They were fighting amongst themselves, and yet in the media and everybody you talk to that's on the left, they were still blaming the Republicans for them not being able to get anything done. The Republicans, as Glenn Beck has said, the Republicans could have gone home and not even voted, and it wouldn't have mattered. They still had enough votes to pass. So it didn't matter that the Republicans had 40 seats or whatever they had, 40 seats in the Senate and whatever they had in the House. They didn't have enough. So it didn't matter. They couldn't make any change. They all were lockstep and said no. Now, I'm not all for the Republican Party, but I'm glad that they were trying, at least somebody was trying to put the brakes on. There are plenty of progressives in the Republican Party. There are plenty of big government, big spending, big controllers in the Republican Party. Don't get me wrong. And anytime big government gets in bed with either big labor, big banks, or big industry, you've got a problem. And this particular administration that we have right now is in bed with big government. We have a big government in bed with big banks, big industry, and big labor. So don't kid yourself if he's calling the bankers fat cats and everything else that they're doing. They're the ones who gave these guys money. They're the ones who caused this problem to begin with, and they're the ones who funded it. So if they have anybody to blame, it's themselves. They shouldn't have given this money to those guys without some oversight, without they basically blew it when they gave these guys money. We got to bail them out or unemployment's going to go over 8%. And of course then when it went up to 10% and it stayed at 10%, then nothing's changed. So and they're not, of course they're still blaming the bankers. Now they're going to come down on the bankers for doing what they're doing, for paying their people too much, even though it was them to begin with that gave this money to them. Just like this is the way they kind of run stuff. This is the way they would run healthcare, same kind of thing. You can't trust them. They're just so squeaky clean because they never do anything wrong. Now, Scott Brown wins. Here's the way I see this playing out. Now they're going to say, oh no, now the Republicans can stop everything. We're not going to get the votes. We're not, because they got 41 now and we only have, 59. So now we can't, even without Lieberman, they still have 58. They still have a majority. They can still do what they need to do if it's so right for the country. Why won't they? The reason they won't now is because a lot of these Democrats are coming up for re-election in 2010, and they are shaking in their shoes. They know they're going to lose their jobs next year. This is going to be the last year in office. Not that they haven't made enough money already, but now they know they're going to lose their office. So a lot of them are retiring. I have 5 now that I know of that total that are going to retire and not going to run for re-election. So you got all these other congressmen and senators now are scared because of what's happened with the election in Massachusetts. A particular seat that happened to be extremely well held by a uber leftist, an uber progressive, had that position, and now he's been landslided. That office has been landslide victory for a Republican candidate, no less. And I'm not sure, I'm along with Glenn on this one. We're going to be watching him like a hawk. I'm not all about Scott Brown. I'm glad that, personally I don't want to give Scott Brown the credit necessarily. I want to give the people of Massachusetts who voted, to keep Coakley out the credit. They are really the ones who are the true heroes in this particular race, in this particular election. They are the ones who the entire country owes a debt of gratitude to. And I want to put credit where credit is due. It's the Massachusetts people, the Massachusetts voters, that really deserve the credit for this, not Scott Brown. I think a monkey could have ran against Coakley, and people were so mad that the monkey would have won. We'd be swearing in a monkey today. So Think about this, and I don't want people to because the Dems will use this, and they were using it anyway, so they're going to continue to say that it's the Republicans' fault. Now they'll have more cannon fodder, if you will, to continue to blame Republicans, blame Bush, blame the right, blame these right-wing racist, crazy kook conservatives, whatever they're going to do. It's all their fault. It's all Rush Limbaugh. It's all these guys. It's all Glenn Beck. Blame all these people for being crazy. Well, I got news for all of the people, especially the people in Washington. We are on to you. It's not about right or left. It's no longer about Republican and Democrat. It's about big spending, big government, under the table, underhanded deals that we're sick of. We want limited government. We want government out of our lives. Do your jobs and stop trying to get your fingers into everything we do and taking control of all of our money and control of all of our livelihood and stealing from us for our hard labor, our hard work and our hard labor, taking all of our money and acting like we're just some kind of chattel that you can just kind of do whatever you want to. We want our rights back. We want our individual sovereign rights back. Our liberties. That's what we want. And we'll just keep voting you guys out. I don't care if you're right or left. I don't care what you say you are. Progressives, you're gone. We're going to keep rooting you guys out until I don't care if it takes 10 more elections. You guys will continue to get fired, and I guarantee you that's the heart of the American people right now. You just don't get it. The pundits don't even get it. The pundits don't understand. The pundits that are on the mainstream media right now don't even understand what is happening. They're all scratching their heads going, well, but they've only given Obama a year, and now they're already turned coats on him, and even Obama doesn't get it. He still thinks that the anger from the Bush administration is now turning on him because they're starting to blame him for it. And oh, I'm like I'm Mr. Teflon. You can't blame me for any of this. This was still Bush's fault, and I understand that people are still angry and they're starting to turn on us, and we need to get some things done. That's not it at all. The problem is what happened in the Bush administration has been accelerated in this administration. They're spending more money than the last two terms of our last president. They just don't get it. They're not getting it. The pundits don't even get it. They think it's all still about Bush. It wasn't about Bush to begin with. It's about spending too much, taking too much control, continuing to get their fingers into everything we're doing. Stay out of our lives. That's the way I see it with Scott Brown. The whole issue is, and I appreciate what Scott actually said today. He actually said something I really, he made a couple statements that I really admire. One is the fact that he said it's the people's seat, not Ted Kennedy's seat. I thought that was very admirable of him to say. I think that statement there probably alone was the one, if there was one statement that he made during his whole campaign, that particular statement probably swayed the hearts of the people more than anything else, because the people want their seat, the people want their representation, they want to know that they have a voice, and it's not about some personality cult. That's what they're concerned about. I think that statement had a lot to do with it. But as well, I think the other statement that he made just recently was, and I thought this was very important, I thought it was very, very critical of him. He said, every Republican senator is the 41st senator. Everyone that votes no on this is the 41st senator. So he's not the only one. He realizes that if he was the only one to vote no, that there would be 40 other. He gets it. He understands that it's not just about him. It's about the entire group, the body of people who are voting no on this thing, and he's just part of that body. So it just happens to be that they got another one. Now they're all the 41st senator who are putting the brakes on. So I appreciate the fact that he recognized that it wasn't just about him and he's not the big hero. And I think in some ways he's putting the credit again back to the people of Massachusetts, and the people have spoken. And I think that the Democrats and the liberals, mostly the progressives, I hope the progressives understand that they are the ones that we are after. We got our eyes on them, and we're starting to understand this difference between a regular American who understands the Constitution built on the foundation of individual rights, and these progressives who want to gradually keep redefining our Constitution, redefining our rights, and taking over and over and over more and more of our lives, trying to create an oligarchy, a ruling class, and be at the top of that ruling class when it happens, so they can continue to take more power, more money, and more control.